out there. Room for Luke.
Think it's time to panic.
Anybody was coming.
Yeah.
You happen to print that out? I was in text you today. You could have.
We could do it really quick here. If anybody has extension around.
Huh? Can you do it? I got the hard copy, but I don't have the, like, do you have a copy of your recommendations?
He's like.
You see if I can.
Yeah.
Ryan's is right there.
For you, Doug.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump over the table.
I'd like to see that. So,
Hi. How are you?
Don't trip.
Broke?
Oh, yes, there you go.
Broke. You are broke.
yeah.
Nasty.
On that.
What's nasty?
And
What'd you do that?
where's the word? Walk with the other.
What?
Jeez, Pete's.
Good.
Oh, good, if you know.
Looks good.
Made it home that night.
Oh, listen, you're looking, oh.
With all that water I drank.
We're waiting for Sam. You okay?
Yep, everything's good.
Right.
Oh, lost my pen now. Yeah, you got an extra? Where's your water?
I have one, but I
We got
think it's, I
that
think
too.
it's red.
I hope not. No, I'll be fine. I feel, huh?
Would you like mine?
Ooh, look at
Hello?
that.
Nobody.
That's okay. I can, it's fine. I got it on here.
It's
It just makes, it's fine.
Wednesday.
Hello.
Wow, that's Wednesday. What about Thursday?
You.
Hey. Good.
It's a good one.
Commissioner Simmons,
5:30.
ready when you are. One.
Wow.
You want to lead us in the pledge?
Love to.
Please.
Stand up though, you guys never wait for me to stand up, it's so slow. Now we pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Jenny David.
Here.
Roger Mayhew.
Yeah.
Charles Wiltie.
Here.
Brenda Simmons. Here. Thanks.
Here.
Commissioners, any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I don't have, I'll think of up the agenda as presented.
We have a motion, Commissioner Scott. Any support? Support from Commissioner Simmons. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 3, declarations of conflicts of interest. Commissioners, any?
Nope. I have none. I have none.
Item 4, review of minutes, November 26, 2024, regular meeting minutes.
With the minutes, I'll make a motion to make a motion to accept them as presented. Support.
Motion from Commissioner Scott, support from Commissioner Wiltie. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 4B, December 5th, 2024, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
I've read the minutes. Make a motion to support.
Motion from Commissioner Wiltie,
Support.
support from Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4C, December 5th, 2024, closed session meeting minutes. Those were all in front of us when we got here.
Just signed mine, so I'll make a motion to accept. Support.
Motion from Commissioner Scott, support from Commissioner Wiltie. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment and agenda items only. Any public comment in the room? Any public comment on the phone? Correspondence, Wellvance, meeting minutes, those have been received and filed. Consent agenda, are you guys okay taking these? There's quite a few of them, but
I'd like to take some off if we may here. Just let me Pull it back up again, please.
Is there anybody that would take these individually? Are you guys okay doing some consents?
I'd like to consent of C like Craig. And the appointments of H, I, J, K, L are all the appointments, and I believe M we can include it with that.
I did have a question on L. I didn't know
On
if that,
L?
yeah,
Okay. Do you want to exclude that one? Then I'm fine with H, I, J, K. C. C, H, I, J, K.
So just the appointments and then C.
Just, yes.
that was the
Oh, and M, I think we can go ahead.
job description.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that. I had looked all them over. The C is the Cisco umbrella coverage. That's Tom covered that pretty well in committee of the whole. You guys all okay with that? Is there a motion?
There's a motion to consent those items.
Motion from Commissioner Scott. Support from Commissioner Mayhew. Those items are 7C, resolution to approve Cisco umbrella coverage. 7H, resolution to appoint members of the Ogemaw County Land Bank Authority Board. I, resolution to appoint members to the Ogemaw County Parks and Recreational Commission. J, resolution to appoint members to the Ogemaw County Planning Commission. K, resolution to appoint members to the Ogemaw County Zoning Board of Appeals. And M, resolution to approve corrections job description. Any discussion on those?
You approving all these?
All these, if
The
we,
ones that I just listed, yes.
Okay,
They were spoke about pretty well at the committee of the whole.
yep.
No other question?
Nope.
No much, so, you know what there is, roll call vote.
Roger Mayhew.
Yeah.
Charles Wiltie.
Yes.
Brenda Simmons.
Yep.
Craig Scott.
yes.
Jenny David.
Yes. Item 7A, resolution in honor of Vincent Tomasi. Sheriff, would you come up and read that? Are you okay doing that?
Go ahead. Please.
Okay. Would you like to, Tommy?
Yeah.
Come on up. Mr. Howard, I'm sorry.
You want to use mine?
You have it written? Well,
I don't have it written, I have it written out. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah, I don't have my glasses.
try these.
No. it's all right. Whereas Vincent M. Tomasi, who unselfishly dedicated many years of service to Ogemaw County with great distinction and success, died on December 3rd, 2024. And whereas Vincent M. Tomasi begun his tenure with the Ogemaw County Corrections Officer as an Ogemaw County Corrections Officer on July 20th, 1994, and quickly made an impact with his strong dedication and compassionate nature. And whereas Vincent M. Tomasi was a vital member of the correctional staff for more than 30 years, holding the position of Corrections Officer, Corporal, and Sergeant at the correctional facility. And whereas Vincent M. Tomasi was well-known and respected in Ogemaw County and was always open to conversations and storytelling, both lighthearted and serious, whenever the opportunity presented itself. And whereas Vincent M. Tomasi was big-hearted and well-liked by his fellow corrections officials and countless law enforcement personnel who encountered him each day. Now therefore be it resolved that with sincere sympathy and appreciation, the Ogemaw County Board of Commissioners hereby honor the memory of Vincent M. Tomasi for his outstanding service to the Ogemaw County. Be it further resolved that the resolution shall be included in the minutes of the Ogemaw County Board of Commissioners as a permanent record of the achievements and achievements of and respect for one of Ogemaw County's finest citizens.
Thank you, sir.
I'll move that we accept that.
We have a motion, from Commissioner Scott,
I support.
support from Commissioner Simmons. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7B, resolution to approve an agreement for child assessment services. This resolution, let me go under Tim's just a second. I don't have a hard copy today, so be patient with me for a second. This resolution is sponsored by Administrator/Controller Timothy Delahoney. Each year, the board is asked to authorize an agreement for child assessment services. This agreement will allow county personnel access to Northern Michigan Children's Assessment Center, professionals trained to assist and support children who are victims of sexual and other assaults and or abuse. NMCAC also facilitates the investigation of these crimes so that perpetrators can be successfully prosecuted. NMCAC will continue to provide services in the calendar year 2025 at a total cost not to exceed $5,000.
I make the motion to approve the resolution.
Motion from Commissioner Scott,
Support.
support from Commissioner Wiltie. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Brenda Simmons,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Jenny David,
Yes.
Roger Mayhew,
Yes.
Charles Wiltie.
yes,
Item 7D, resolution to accept a quote for county building window replacements. This resolution is sponsored by Administrator Controller Timothy Delahoney. On May 13th, 2021, the Ogemaw County Board of Commissioners adopted Resolution 21-58 to accept an American Rescue Plan Act grant award from the U.S. Department of Treasury. ARPA rules established December 31st, 2024 as a deadline by which funds must be obligated for ARPA eligible projects. The board determined the installation of energy efficient windows at the Ogemaw County would result in long-term energy savings. Jack Morris Construction of West Branch submitted the lowest responsive and responsible bid for this project in response to RFP 05-25. Approval of the resolution will accept the quote submitted by Jack Morris Construction for purchase and installation of energy efficient windows at the county building in the amount of $661,500 and authorize a project contingency amount of 10% as may be needed for additional work if necessary, subject to prior approval by the board. Funding for the project will be designated from the ARPA fund.
Make a motion that we accept the.
Motion from Commissioner Scott, support from Commissioner Mayhew. Jack Morris Construction, I believe, are here tonight, correct? You guys want to come on up in case anybody's got any questions? You guys are the next couple of resolutions. Thank you for coming.
Yep.
Do you guys have any questions related to this resolution?
As far as the window replacement, we kind of was talking to Jack a little bit out there in the lobby. I guess the one big question was how much window surface do we really want when we're done with this? I would suspect probably a 36-inch height of a window is good enough with me, just about in any place. The rest of it becomes solid for all I care. We got lights to light the place. We don't need the sunlight to do that. So I don't, just some type of an insulating material.
Yeah, when we had met over there and stuff, like I said, to replace all the glass in the aluminum frames, essentially, your energy savings is gonna be very minimum spread out, for that long, just because there's, even though the glass has come a long ways, the new glass isn't as, it's still not as efficient as closing some of that window. There's huge amounts of, glass area over there. So what we propose is framing in some, making the glass area smaller and then doing smaller windows. As far as the 36-inch windows go, probably sufficient in most areas, but the big entryway up front and stuff like that, them probably need to have something a little bit more sizable.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying, as far as and everything like that.
There is different size ones. I get that. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about the front ones, but
Yep.
yeah.
So,
Isn't that
Makes
up
a
to
good
you?
point.
I'm sorry.
Oh, just,
Isn't that up to your discretion? Like, isn't that part of this bid?
what's that?
Like, wasn't that,
They had a quote of what size windows they wanted to replace. So we basically went off like the exact size that you guys requested.
is that the same size as what's currently in there, the current bid done?
So you have complete wall panels of solid glass with stationary windows inside that wall panel of glass. So that you were only gonna replace small amounts of that glass, thinking it would change the efficiency of it.
Oh, that's the bid, that's, okay, so with this conversation, we're not changing anything on the current bid is what I'm saying.
No.
Does that make sense?
oh, I didn't read the dimensions.
So basically, what our proposal is to help with the energy efficiency, and fill in the areas instead of having all the glass as opposed to where it's at, to what this says.
Okay. I just want to make sure we weren't throwing you off and having to start all over
Well.
by these specific
does that make-
questions.
The sizes make sense to you?
Yeah, for sure, there's sizes doing stuff like that. There's gonna be a few spots that are gonna have some discretion, as far as we'll probably have to, coordinate with you guys on the bigger areas of.
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Simmons?
Go ahead. So that bid that you have sent in, does that include enclosing part of the glass walls that we have? Cause that's way too much glass.
Yeah, we proposed taking all that whole glass panel out, framing that in, insulating and put smaller windows in where the offices are. That makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Any other?
Because there's no egress
No.
because we exit through the hallways rather than through the glass anyway. And they'll all be fixed then.
Yes, they're all gonna be a stationary, none of them are operational or anything like that. They're still gonna be a fixed, unit.
And that's more efficient than a operating one anyway.
Yes.
I'm good with it. Do you wanna?
Questions, Commissioner Wiltie?
I've never heard anything but good things about Jack and businesses and, I'm not questioning that at all. Just like I stated last week, I'm just very disappointed in the fact, this is, you're looking at $750,000 and it would have been nice to have some more idea from other, from another bit contractor where they're at. But I mean, obviously, I guess it is what it is. I'm not questioning at all the work that they'll do because again, there's a reason, you guys have done what you've done and it's $750,000. And
It's a lot of money,
yeah,
Do you
but
wanna?
it's needed. No, I'm
do the
gonna,
question Q&A for all of them or?
Yeah,
you wanna vote?
yeah, but I want to take, this is a lot of money. I'm gonna take these individually.
No, I meant, do you wanna vote on each one before we go to the next one?
Yep.
Okay, fine with
Any
me.
other questions on this?
No.
I
Yes.
did want to point out with each of these proposals, the section that the chair read about the 10% contingency, that's my rule, because we get these proposals in, inevitably, we
Right.
get a piece of glass out and suddenly another problem will appear. So I'm trying to give us some cushion in case those things happen. And my reference for you is when we were doing the juvenile center across the road, when we got into it, we ended up replacing a whole wall and a roof that we didn't plan on. And so those things happen. And so I just want to make sure that we aren't coming up short at the end of a project if anything needs to change. Any change order would be brought to you, so you would be able to vote on that up or down. Typically, though, if we come across something, it's probably something that we need to do. I don't think you'll find any discretionary item come through. So that's true with each one of these, so that we have, again, that cushion to make sure the job gets done right.
We had some issues here too in this building, and that was being renovated. Some lighting or something.
Well, the lighting, these lights are better than what we had before. There are fewer of them in here, as I remember. But I think the light myself, I think is a lot better.
You have something?
That was a good thing.
Anything to add, guys? Roll call vote.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Jenny David.
Yes.
Roger Mayhew,
Yes.
Charles Wiltie.
yes,
Brenda Simmons.
Yes.
7E, resolution to accept a quote for county building energy efficient lighting. This resolution is sponsored by Administrator / Controller Timothy Delahoney on May 13th, 2021. The Ogemaw County Board of Commissioners adopted Resolution 21-58 to accept an American Rescue Plan Act grant award from the U.S. Department of Treasury. ARPA rules established December 31st, 2024 as a deadline by which funds must be obligated for ARPA eligible projects. The board determined the installation of energy efficient lighting at the Ogemaw County building would result in long-term energy savings. Jack Morris Construction of West Branch submitted the lowest responsive and responsible bid for this project in response to RFP 06-25. Approval of the resolution will accept the quote submitted by Jack Morris Construction for installation of energy efficient lighting at the county building in the amount of $87,971.55 and authorize a project contingency of 10% as may be needed for any additional work deemed necessary, subject to prior approval by the board. Funding for the project will be designated from the ARPA fund.
Make the motion to accept the quote.
Motion, Commissioner Scott.
Yep.
Support from Commissioner Mayhew. Discussion? Do you guys want to say anything first?
Just, so everybody is clear, when we went over there, and the light fixtures that you guys wanted replaced and stuff. The problem that we ran into is finding a light fixture that falls underneath of the energy code with the cold air return built into it. Them lights over there have a cold air return built into the light fixture themselves. So what our answer was, and we put it in the estimate, there's retrofitting energy efficient light into that housing. You know, just so you guys are all aware of what that is, you know, because we went through multiple different suppliers with our electrician and everything like that, and we couldn't find anything that would basically fit that,
Replace.
replace that. So the retrofit is putting basically the new guts into that fixture with the LEDs and stuff like that to meet it. So.
Is there any grants or any availability for reimbursement for this from like consumers?
I'm gonna let him talk on that. He's the one who did more.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're gonna get a check back at the end of it from consumers for $15,685.50 pending consumers energy approval once inspection's done and over with. That check we wrote straight to you guys.
Questions, comments? Tim, do you have anything?
So when you put them in, we're not gonna change the tile, we're just gonna change the bulbs.
Yep.
I think that's a smart way to go myself.
Yeah, yeah, like I said, if you go over there, kind of a unique fixture with the cold air return built into the light fixture itself. You know, part of your heating system is built into the light fixture itself. So trying to find something
Oh.
that we can basically replace that whole thing. They just don't have nothing, but they do make a retrofit to fit the energy efficient
Well,
lights into
My
it.
theory is if you change it and it's different, then you're gonna tile it too. Cause they ain't never gonna match
Yeah.
or paint it or where you just put the light in, you know.
Commissioner Scott?
So was that ductwork to take the heat from the light and push it back through the heating system rather than to?
That was before anything I would know.
Oh,
So you know what?
Oh, I was wondering.
That's it.
Okay.
If that was a theory or anything that they had, I couldn't answer that.
Yeah, well, originally it was fluorescent and they would give off some heat.
Yeah.
And instead of pushing down into the room, I
Yeah.
guess, I'm just thinking they're gonna convect up into the.
Yeah.
And then run back through the heat plant.
Yeah, but when we inspect them, they're definitely still active.
Yeah.
It's not like they've been abandoned over the years through a different remodel or anything like that.
Right.
They're still active, and that's about the only answer we could come up with is to retrofit something into it without getting terribly out of control on cost.
Does it appear that the bulbs are original or the setup is original? The bulbs could have been replaced through the years.
They're the 277s, what
Yep.
Eric said, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so 277 volts.
The same type of bulb that they put in originally.
Yeah, and they came up with a controller, which I think was requested also, right?
Where you can control it by the panel, where you can shut it off by your phone, the digital.
Yeah,
all that
so
stuff.
it was in-
digital control.
Oh,
So
that's
you
what we're
should-
getting?
Yep. So that's what they came up with a digital control, which was requested, you know, which is easy to accomplish with new fixtures and stuff like that when rewired. But they're able to come up with a answer for you guys to do that also. So.
Thanks. Good.
Commissioner Wiltie?
Yeah, I'm fully confident you guys will do a good job on it. Just again, disappointed that not more people got involved to give us prices.
Is there a deadline in this for this reimbursement from consumers?
Question.
I was told that in general, that they're cutting back on these
So
reimbursements.
this rebate was based off of 2025, so as long as we're supposed to be done with the project December 31st of 25, so as long as we beat that deadline, I'm sure you get good.
Are you going to?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Wow,
Hesitate, so.
you starting tonight? Thought I'd ask.
Anything, Commissioner Simmons? Tim, do you have anything to add? Okay, roll call vote?
Jenny David,
Yes.
Roger Mayhew,
Yes.
Charles Wiltie.
Yes,
Brenda Simmons.
Yes,
Craig Scott.
Yes.
Item 7F, resolution to accept a quote for county building ADA compliant secure entrance. I'm not gonna read, this is the midst of this approval of the resolution will accept the quote submitted by Jack Morris Construction for construction of an ADA compliant secure entrance at the Ogemaw County Building in the amount of $94,800 or $29,750 and authorize a project contingency amount of 10% as may be needed for any additional work deemed necessary, subject to prior approval by the board. Funding for the project will be designated from the ARPA fund.
I'll make a motion to accept it. Cool.
yeah, I'll support.
Motion for Commissioner Scott, support from Commissioner Wiltie. Discussion?
Yeah, can I start?
Yep.
So we I appreciate the email that we got. And it was very important to see that from our security staff and where they felt was best, and they seemed very clear, just as myself and Commissioner Mayhew experienced at a building security meeting, that they feel the north end is the best place to be. So security is important. It's more important than ever right now, and it's gonna just need to continue to be there. So I feel we need to move everything back to the north end.
When was that? I did not receive that email.
Yeah, I said, what,
That's
the one that came late last night, or was it?
Oh, it was
Yeah.
the 3?
I don't remember anymore which one it was, but yeah, I actually met with Rick, I believe, yesterday, and trying to get my days
It
straight.
would have been last night then.
Yeah. And had a good conversation with him. He wanted to be here tonight, but he had a prior obligation. He couldn't be. He did like the idea of the security team being stationed up in that lobby area, because they have a direct view now of 2 hallways, not just one, 2 hallways on the first floor, and they can hear what's going on the second floor from that location. So he felt for their own awareness that it's better. And he had some other ideas that we'll talk about after the project is finished, about potentially having that south entrance as an exit only potential, because again, they have their line of sight, they can keep an eye on it. Not a decision that needs to be made right now. I think right now the crucial thing is the decision to go with, one entrance or the other and move forward. So great opportunity to change the location if we want to do that. We did have a brief conversation about this with department heads as well. And there seemed to be a not of consensus that they would like to see the front used again for that purpose. And that frankly surprised me a little bit, because the change happened even before I was here. So roughly 5 years ago, we got everybody used to coming to the south entrance. And now we're going to say, well, go around to the north entrance. Well, they didn't seem to think that would be a problem. And they certainly didn't have any problem walking the additional distance around the building. So it sounds like that's a direction that most would like to see us go.
Commissioner Simmons, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, the entrance is at the north now. I don't think it'll take them very long to get used to that. I know it won't take me very long to get used to it one time.
Commissioner Mayhew?
Well, it's gonna be cheaper, so if they do need more money, it's gonna save it by not doing the back.
Is there, I had a resident reach out to me, was voice concerns about getting their handicapped husband in, had listened to our meeting, getting her handicapped husband into the front entrance. She didn't think that she would be able to. She came in both.
Okay, so from what we could tell with the front one, everything up there meets ADA. The back entrance technically does not meet your 1 and 12 slope. Come to the south entrance, the one facing this way. So the front one was it the slope that was concerning her, the size of the door?
It was primarily seemed to be the slope, wheelchair, getting somebody up the ramp.
Okay, from the distance I checked from the door going out, it was right. I would more than happily go out and double check it again, but it technically, I believe, does meet your slope, and everything out front. That's why the back cost was driven so high. There's a lot of concrete involved, taking concrete out and then coming all the way to the curb and then having to ramp each way off the curb down to a spot to achieve your 1 and 12. All the way. So.
And obviously employees, I mean, they know they're coming in and out of there the most.
Yeah.
That was a pretty concerned resident. So as long as you say they can do it, they can.
And we can give you guys a double check just to make sure,
If we change it to the north, it's the 29,750, correct?
Right.
Okay, so what,
Is that with the power doors and everything?
Yep.
we're going with the 2970,
Are we going,
29,750, pardon me?
are we going in larger width door or not?
I don't think there's room for it.
Are they the same size as the back doors?
Yep.
Man, it's a narrow fit on them for a wheelchair. I've observed that. Okay, I'll agree with the security part of it. As far as using the south doors as an exit, though, I want to make sure that we only do an exit. And we don't start giving variables away for coming back in that way, even if they have sight of it. I'm I had the same stance for, and I'll be done in a second, please.
I don't know why I keep.
You just keep raising your hand on me.
I'm pumping.
Go ahead, she didn't interrupt you.
I know, but it's an interruption, just,
It's not, go ahead.
all right. Anyway, this got nothing to do with you guys, but I've been just, security wise, I just don't want to get complacent. The point I've made right from the beginning is that the postal worker shot up the post office. The employee did it. And that's happened in so many different places. I just hope we don't get complacent on letting people come in that back door. And I don't care what official capacity they have. I don't care.
You have a valid point, you know, especially. I think
That's all, that's my concern.
You
Other than that, I'll pass it.
have a valid point. Any other comments? So do we need to, because I said both numbers in there in the resolution, do we need a specification there?
You do, if somebody could move to just specify which entrance we're using, and that way we can clean up the two choices that you have in the resolution.
I'll make. Go ahead.
Well, I made the original motion. I'll just make you amend that motion to say the front entrance.
With support?
Support.
We have a motion with support for the amount of $29,750, and that would be for the make the front entrance ADA compliant. Roll call vote.
Roger Mayhew,
Yes.
Charles Wiltie.
Yes.
Brenda Simmons,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Jenny David.
Yes, item 7G, resolution to accept a quote for county building ADA compliant restrooms. This is for Jack Morris Construction for the ADA compliant restroom conversion project at the county building in the amount of $100,860 and authorize a project contingency amount of 10% as may be needed for any additional work deemed necessary, subject to prior approval by the board. Funding for the project will be designated from the ARPA fund.
To make the motion to accept the quote.
Motion from Commissioner Scott, support from Commissioner Simmons. Discussion? You guys have anything to add to this?
I have a question for
Go ahead.
Jack. So was some of the biggest challenges with that because of the plumbing and
Yeah,
currently
so
we
you're gonna
just concrete slab?
So like we have to plug one urinal, so you'll lose the one urinal in the, so I think there's three, if I gotta remember right, but there's three there now, you lose one,
Mhm.
then that one, of course, the first one's series, you know, and stuff when you that's plumbed in and everything like that, so that is the expense of it and everything like that, and then the tiles, you know, just a lot of labor intensive to get the tile out and then new tile in and stuff.
Mhm.
Then all new, you know, of course, the partitions and everything like that.
Right. So if I remember right, sinks and everything new.
Yep. Yeah, that one's got a real awkward sink that gets eliminated and everything like that, so.
Commissioner Scott, anything?
No, it makes sense what they're talking about.
Commissioner Mayhew? Commissioner Simmons? Tim? Anything? Roll call vote.
Charles Wiltie,
Yes.
Brenda Simmons,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Jenny David,
Yes.
Roger Mayhew.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thanks,
How
guys.
long before you start?
Anything else?
Oh.
Actually, we can probably get in contact with you throughout the course of the winter here, probably after the holidays, as far as like the bathrooms. That would be something we definitely want to get started on, maybe doing the entryway and stuff like that, and then we can start talking, how we want to handle doing the renovations with the windows and your guys's, you know, timing with people occupying and not occupying and stuff like that, and how interruptive we're gonna be to them.
And outside weather.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so.
What was the total cost? Do you have that?
Yeah, total cost for all these projects right now, $968,089.70. That includes the 10% on all of them.
Oh,
So, probably the two for sure is bathrooms and lighting you can do.
Yep, for sure.
thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Two.
Good night, guys.
Item 7L, resolution to appoint members for the Ogemaw County Economic Development Corporation. I'll make that motion.
Or
Support from Commissioner Wiltie. This, my question on this was just the date on it it's for Commissioner Wiltie. What was just the date. It was all the way through December 31st, 2020, or 2030.
It's just an error, isn't it?
No, it's actually accurate. The EDC is appointed to 6-year terms by statute. What will happen, and we have the unfortunate situation where Commissioner Wiltsey can't serve in that capacity, then the board would appoint somebody to fill the balance of that term through 2030. And that would be true with any member that you appoint to the EDC, the way the statute is structured. Anybody resigning before that term ends, anybody being reappointed would serve the remainder of that term. And then the next full term, they'd be eligible for the full 6 years. So that's how it would be handled. And just an awkward situation, given the term of the board versus the term of this.
That's just what I thought when I read it. I thought I just wanted to make sure and talk about it and make sure he wanted us on board with it. And it's a great group. I served on it prior to Commissioner Wiltsey. That's quite an extended period of time. Any comment? That was the only reason I pulled that.
No, that's perfectly fine. Like I said, I thought it was possibly an error, so, but I'm fine with this.
All right, any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 7N, resolution to amend the general appropriations resolution for fiscal year 2025. This resolution is sponsored by Administrator/Controller Timothy Delahoney. On September 26, 2024, the Board of Commissioners approved Resolution 24-90 to adopt the fiscal year 2025 Ogemaw County budget. Within the general appropriations resolution and consistent with its authority to represent the county in the care and management of the property and business of the county, the Board of Commissioners directed that the Sheriff's Office shall relocate from its current location to the Ogemaw County Corrections Facility building on or before November 30th, 2024, unless otherwise approved by the Board of Commissioners. The Sheriff's Office was unable to secure moving assistance for large and heavy items until December 10th, 2024. Approval of the resolution will amend Resolution 24-90 to accomplish relocation of the Sheriff's Office on or before December 16th, 2024, unless otherwise approved by the Board of Commissioners.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution.
A motion from Commissioner Scott, support from Commissioner Wiltsey. Discussion?
I believe the move is done now. The fact that we had this written in the appropriation resolution is the only reason we're doing this tonight. But I don't, the sheriff's gone now. The moving truck I know was here on the 10th, and I know the heavy stuff was moved over. A lot of things have been moved prior to that, but I was pretty vocal in my position that I don't want our guys lifting heavy desks and then having an injury occur for something like that. So we just went ahead and hired the people who do that professionally. It was done. Somebody reported a filing cabinet going across M30, must have missed the truck or something. But I believe it's done, and you can, you see all the vehicles are over there now. The last step we'll have, and if not the next meeting, then early in January, we'll have the proposals for the partition wall that we wanted to do in there. That would be the last piece, and they can work around the personnel to get that done. It's just a partition wall, so I think we're in good shape.
Question for Tim.
Go ahead.
I've been very adamant about as soon as we possibly can to get the building completely closed down, water drained, boiler shut off. Where are we at? I know you said 911 had some equipment there.
Yeah, I talked to, I'm sure I talked to Tom or somebody else talked to Tom and told me what we've got. If they need heat in there, a small portable heater would likely do the job. Now, those things, Tom's the expert on this, but my experience is those radios do tend to generate their own heat sometimes, so that might be sufficient. But this is just the backup for 911. I don't believe, even without a heater, that building would get so cold they couldn't use it. And usually it's heat, too much heat that would damage equipment like that, and we're not going in that direction.
Okay. So this might be a question for Tom, but most likely then the reason for it's a backup, that's why it cannot be in this building in case this building would burn down or. Okay. Right, I just think it's really important. We know the cost there, that old system. As soon as we can get that shut down, the better. And then one thing I'd like to talk about, and this is for future, that fascia there. 2 years I've been part of this, and then no one's taken pride in fixing that. Even if it's just a volunteer, if that's something that can happen, I'd volunteer myself and a worker, because it's disappointing to see that every day. And I think that's a reflection of us as a county, when people drive by that and see that fascia falling off, and if it's not gonna get taken care of, I would like to volunteer my time to just remove it, and then in the spring, we could paint the block, so.
Commissioner Scott?
We need to, if they are vacated, we need to go inside and see what we can do to move, if we need to move things or anything like that to accommodate better storage. And then take inventory of any other items that we need to make sure. I've always said that I don't have a problem with the sheriff's office using the garages that are there. We have off-road equipment and stuff like that. That can be stored inside. Maybe there's even room to expand an area for that equipment or something else. But I think we need to just go inside and take a look.
Have you guys, the law enforcement committee, have you guys went over there yet?
No, I haven't been in there since, oh no, I was over there last year, but I didn't go in the back. I wanted to see the armory. They were telling me about the armory and I went in there to see that.
I got a tour of it.
So maybe before the next, you guys, during your next law enforcement meeting, you could.
Yeah, we can bring that up.
Take a walk over there?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make sure they were out first.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Anything, Commissioner Mayo?
All I know is if you leave the building with no heat, nobody in it, it will be junk. I don't know what shape it's in, but
It's in rough shape. It is junk.
it will be worse.
Put nicely, it's in rough shape. It's been, I think, 4 years since I walked through it. I've been over there in the front, but not, it's bad.
We might be better off to work on some storage and remove it. I'm just telling you,
Agreed,
you know, a barn won't even
Mhm.
stand. If you don't have cows in it, it won't
Right.
make it.
over a period of time, agreed.
Comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that's something that we're gonna have to have more conversation on. But, you know, also if you look at like storage units, storage units are not heated. I know they're built differently, so maybe there's just some options we could look into. I'm sure there's other places that had functioning buildings. They've closed them down to cold storage, see what maybe things can be done to help protect that, but it is a good point.
It has been brought up over the years of eventually, and again, I hate to even say this, of tearing that place down, eventually long-term goal, but we're a ways from that. So Commissioner Simmons? Any other discussion on this, guys?
Oh.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7O. Resolution to approve an acceptance of gifts and grants policy. This resolution is sponsored by Administrator/Controller Timothy Delahoney. Ogemaw County government occasionally receives gifts and grants from other government agencies, public and private organizations, and individual citizens in support of general or specific causes. The Michigan Board of Commissioners Act reserves to the Board of Authority to direct and provide for the raising of money necessary to defray the expenses and charges of the county, and the authority to establish rules and regulations in reference to the management of the interest and business concerns of the county. Approval of the resolution will establish a policy to set forth procedures for acceptance of gifts and grants offered in any other form or donation, contribution, bequest, and endowment made to the county regardless of value. The new policy will have immediate effect and will supersede all previous policies and or past practices regarding acceptance of gifts and grants.
Make a motion, please. Accept the resolution for acceptance of gifts and grants policy.
Support.
Motion from Commissioner Wiltse, support from Commissioner Mayhew. Discussion. We covered this pretty well. And this isn't the first time we've covered this.
Right. No, it isn't.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 8, new business, resolution to authorize a grant agreement with the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission and the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. This resolution is sponsored by Administrator/Controller Timothy Delahoney. The Michigan Defense Commission, oh my goodness, let me start over. The Michigan Indigent Defense Commission and the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs recently approved the Ogemaw County's compliance plan and cost analysis to provide the indigent defense and related services at the 34th Judicial Circuit Court and the 82nd Judicial District Court, thereby affirming the county's eligibility to receive grant funding for the indigent defense. Approval of the resolution will accept the state grant contribution of $641,995.99 for the fiscal year 2025.
Make a motion that we approve or authorize the grant agreement.
Motion Commissioner Scott,
Or
support from Commissioner Wiltse. Discussion, Tim?
This is something that came along a few years ago when the state, primarily through the State Court Administrator's Office, pointed out that the state was not doing a very good job of providing indigent defense. And to make the program work better, the state allocated monies over the last few years so that we have our Indigent Defense Council here. This is the group that Will Lingeman heads up for us. The state's been a little tardy on getting these out. This should have been done probably 6 to 8 weeks ago to coincide with our fiscal year and the state's fiscal year. There were some changes that the state court administrator asked for in these agreements with 83 counties. You can understand how it could get backlogged in a hurry, and that's all that happened here. Everything that we asked for in that grant release was approved, and failure to approve that resolution just means that we get to pick up that total cost on our own, which I don't think we'd really want to do.
Was that the same as what's the difference between last year and this year?
The actual grant is north of 100,000 less. And that's due to recognition that we had a pretty significant fund balance in the MIDC fund. And the monies can only be spent for this purpose. This was also part of what I think the delay was in approving the plans at the state level, because they went through each county and looked at those fund balances compared to what the requests were and made the appropriate adjustments. There are also some changes in the requirements that had to do with a compensation of some of the attorneys and a few other technical things that they had to get through as well. So those are the changes, but this does line up with what we approved for the budget for this year. So as far as we're concerned, everything is accounted for.
Now, if they don't use all of this grant money, does it roll over?
Yeah, it will stay in the fund balance, but again, the state will probably look at it again next
Okay.
year. And if it's building up too much, again, they'll probably cut back on the grant itself to recognize that.
Questions? Commissioners?
No, I understand.
No,
Roll call vote?
Roger Mayhew,
Yes.
Charles Wiltie,
yes.
Brenda Simmons,
Yes,
Craig Scott,
Yes,
Jenny David.
Yes. Item 8B, claims. The amount is $603,974.57. For a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
Motion Commissioner Scott,
for
support from Commissioner Simmons. Who reviewed the claims?
I did.
I did.
Commissioner Scott, go ahead.
They weren't really nothing out of whack, really. There was a couple of things I took copies of just for my own reference. Once again, couple of state of Michigan costs that were up there, an appropriation cost. I can't remember what it was right off. Yeah, it really I didn't see anything out of whack.
Commissioner Simmons?
One thing I noticed was the utilities, the electric and the natural gas. And it'd be interesting to see after this work has been completed by the contractor on the windows and the lights and stuff, and compare that to what the cost is now, because it was very, very high just for this building alone. So that's the only thing I saw. I was like, it's hard to believe how high the utilities are here. So I'm hoping that it makes a difference with our utility bills.
I noticed that. I went right to the dates to make sure that wasn't like 90 days.
I did too. I did exactly the same thing.
I mean, we're talking to the tune of like $10,000.
Yes, we are. And that's just for the electric.
Yeah, just the electric.
That doesn't include the natural gas.
Any other comments? Roll call vote?
Charles Wiltie,
Yes.
Brenda Simmons,
Yes,
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Jenny David,
Yes.
Roger Mayhew.
Yes.
Unfinished business? Oh, go ahead.
I got a call today from the Mike Bowers, our emergency management manager. The company that owns the tower that's up on Pointer Hill heard that we were looking at the possibility of selling the property, and they wanted to make sure that the property that the tower is on would be secured, but they may be in the position to bid for the whole piece of property. So that would be us a second bidder so far, so. Oh, and then I was talking with Mike Moore. It's a 50-year agreement to have that tower there. We have practically, he's not sure exactly, but around 20 years left. This may be an opportunity to open that up. Distance out farther, maybe they just lease the property from us and maintain it. Their first offer to Mike was, we can maintain it, so. And I think maybe, it's a negotiable point. I don't know what we would use it for in the future, but you know, if, and there's an outside possibility, a lease agreement. Right now, we get nothing from them as far as having a tower on our property.
No, I was gonna ask that. Go ahead.
Well, we checked into it a few years ago and we found out that no, we don't get anything for it. And I don't know why, when it was set up like that, but now may be an opportunity that we can.
Question.
Go ahead.
I know Mike, he was at our opiate meeting, Mike Bowers, before this meeting, and he said that he's got a few satellites on there, so I imagine it has to do with his emergency response stuff. My question is so there's a number of different entities using a satellite that we, on our property, but we don't receive any revenue. Can we look into the reason of, well, I guess first off, find out all the entities that are on this tower. And I'd like to know why we're not receiving revenue.
I don't think we own the tower.
We don't own the
Yeah,
tower.
But we own the
don't-
property.
Just-
We do, and when it was built, we checked into this a couple of years ago. When it was put up, there was no compensation involved in the contract. That's from a commission from long ago.
That's insane.
Isn't Denise gonna be looking into this? Is anybody,
Yeah, I think that's where we got the information from was.
was that where we left the discussion?
Well, yeah, we were gonna look at whether or not we could dissolve the property or not, divest the property or not, because we've run into this before. For if we got the property given to us from somebody else, there's been divestiture language in there that we couldn't, that they would revert back, like the nature park. That property would revert back to the DNR. We couldn't just outright sell it. There was more, we had more to start with. And then through the years, some went away, some went back to the DNR. So, I mean, that's what we wanted to look at. Same with when the question about the high banks came, the same question was there. Can we divest it? We're not going to now, but when the question first came up, that was a question whether or not we could even consider it. So,
We
but when
definitely,
we checked before, when we checked before, the tower just did not make revenue.
can we put this on the committee of the whole and request Denise, look into this? She will find the answers if she doesn't have them.
Yes, you will.
So, item 10, Administrator / Controllers Report.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry,
I have one unfinished business.
go ahead.
The meals at the jail when they were going to Rancho. Whatever they call that place. out there.
Rancheros.
Rancheros. I did go talk to the Commission on Aging about Meals on Wheels. And they're looking into the legality if they can do that before we have another discussion, but it would be. And they would provide meals 7 days a week. They wouldn't come 7 days a week. They do hot meal, frozen meal, hot meal, frozen meal. They come Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And on Friday, they have a hot meal and 2 frozen meals. And because it's so inexpensive, I think you can have a few meals over. You know what I'm saying? And somebody's at the jail and they need a meal, they could eat one of those meals if we had.
I heard a number. I heard a number,
What?
cost. Can you repeat a number or do you know how much per meal?
No, I never discussed it, but I know it's inexpensive.
Okay.
Probably about the same, I would imagine it's the same price that everybody else pays Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
So more information to come on that. That's something you guys need to talk about at the lawn. I'm sure
enforcement.
that's an ongoing discussion at that
Thank
point.
you for
Yeah, so. But they have my phone number and they're looking into the legality, may not even be able to do it, but at least. We're asking.
It's a conversation. That is appreciated. Anything else? Any other unfinished business?
No.
Administrator/controllers report.
Couple of things to add to my report that I loaded this afternoon, so you probably hadn't had a chance to look at that. One thing though, just now that it sounds like officially through our transition point and have our sheriff's office over at the corrections facility. Shortly after the first of the year, unless there's objections from the board, I want to start looking seriously at repurposing that main pod area of the jail. Now, we had talked about this shortly after I spoke with the jail administrator at Gladwin County. So I credit him with the idea, but he said the corrections training programs are always looking for facilities to do live training in. Unfortunately, all of the jails that are operational in the state have inmates in them. And so it's difficult for them to bring trainees in and focus strictly on training when you have literally day-to-day activities going on in an active jail. And he felt this would be an excellent opportunity to go in there, to go through their courses, and then they can practice what they've been taught. And he spoke specifically about cell extraction, literally having to bring somebody out of a cell that maybe doesn't want to come out. So they can practice techniques on how to make that work. They can do live training, situational training in a facility without having to worry about everything else that's going on around them. I do know that there are training stakeholders across the state. I would approach them. I know the Sheriff's Association, for instance, is one group that coordinates this and start talking to them about the prospects of doing this. I spoke with Commissioner Wiltz. He suggested and volunteered to get a hold of our legislators as well to kind of talk about this from a statewide perspective and what other avenues that we may be able to use that building. And again, if there aren't any objections, I'd like to move forward and hopefully with participation of the sheriff to really make this happen. So, while the jail wouldn't be used for, the same activities that it has been in the past, that building is still getting utilized, still has a purpose, still can, help, particularly with the training of others across the state, up until the time that we come up with another idea on maybe repurposing it. I know we kicked around a few other ideas, but this is one I think that we could implement relatively quickly. We just need to put together a schedule, and if there's going to be a fee involved, we can talk about that. But get that operational, fairly quickly. I gotta believe in the first half of the year, we should be able to set up something.
I was gonna ask, there should be a revenue, there should be a cost for them to come to use our facility.
Yeah, we can figure out how much it costs to turn the lights on and heat it and.
Absolutely.
What's with that, and
Comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so as being on the law enforcement board, obviously making the hard decision of closing the jail to the 72-hour lockup. A conversation that we have had on and off is, well, we've got to get through this transition, but we really need to start brainstorming and strategizing that we have a building that our county residents are paying a lot of money for, and how can we create more revenue with that building? As Tim brought up, it's a great option, but it should create revenue, so we could kind of find out what type of revenue that might create. Before we made these decisions, I think we told all you guys, Representative Mike Coldley came here, and we were, just talking with Mike, trying to find out, we wanted him to know exactly where we were at a county level financially. The fact that, closing the jail to a 72-hour lockup was staring us right in the face. Mike, do you have any other options or thoughts? And, Mike's already brainstorming and strategizing that with his team. And then we're also going to get involved with our Senator Michelle Hoshiengu, who I have a good relationship with, and just basically say the same thing. We just need to get it out there. There's many people that know that, we have a building. This is what we have. We're looking for ways that we can try to create revenue with what we have. So I think it's just another item that we just need to get more consistent on. And now that we are into the transition, almost 3 months with the jail, this needs to be a focus that we really need to look into. So
I'm surprised that that's needed with like Standish sits there empty, that's not being utilized for that purpose, but.
Might be $1 million idea.
Hey,
Yeah.
any,
Just one other thing, another conversation I had with Commissioner Wiltie about his experience at a recent township meeting, was confronted with the statement that we had defunded the police or something to that effect. I've heard about that being said on social media. This is the first time I've heard it was actually stated at a public meeting. I just want everybody to know, looking at just the 5-year trend, in the last 5 years, the law enforcement component of the funding out of the general fund from this county has increased $96,945 or 6.3% in that 5-year period. I'm starting in 2021 using an audited number and then the budgeted numbers that we have right now for 2025. This is anything that we have as far as law enforcement is concerned. That's the sheriff's office, it's the road patrol, it's the school resource officers, it's the secondary road. All of that combined, 6.3% increase in 5 years. The general fund, by contrast, has actually fallen by $104,574 or 1% down. Anytime you hear an argument that says we've defunded the police, feel free to use these facts, these statistics to say, no, it's just not true.
101, can you give that number again?
The general fund is down. It's literally this year, $104,574. That's $104,574 less than what we have budgeted in the general fund in fiscal year 2021. I'm sorry, that was the actual expenditure in 2021. And so that 1% decrease versus our law enforcement commitment has increased by $96,945. That's 6.3% more than was spent in fiscal year 21.
For the layman's that are listening, now put that in layman's terms.
It means any statement suggesting that we've defunded the police is not valid. It just has no factual backup at all. These are the actual numbers we're working with. Is it as much as we would like to have increased it? Well, probably not, but when your revenue falls by 1%, you're not going to be making increases. We
So,
did here.
Again, in layman's terms, over a 5-year period, we have increased funding them by $96,945.
Right,
Correct?
right. An increase of 6.3%.
Okay, again, we got to make sure whoever's listening or will be watching this in the future that they understand that very clearly. Comments?
That's a real easy soundbite to throw out there. That's real easy. And people take advantage of sound bites and little zingers that they hear, buzzwords. Yeah, but back it up. That's the first thing I got to say is back it up. I went to a township meeting this week and I was kind of anticipating a couple questions about the jail and how, of course, we've all heard how we turned down all that money coming in. The numbers that I can show on paper, we can take every inmate out of that jail and put in all inmates from another county at $35, not 32, what they wanted to put them in at, but put them in at 35, and we'll still come up shy, a good 700,000 shy of the budgeted operating costs. And if we did that, that means Ogemaw County will subsidize other counties for keeping their inmates. Then if you take the 60 out of the number, I'm figuring 140 beds, that's what's in there. You take 60 out, it comes down to 80. We rent 80 beds out and we put our 80 people in at $35. Our inmates are gonna cost over $50 for our inmates to be there, but their inmates will only cost them $35. Now, is that what my taxpayer wants? No. I don't want to be a taxpayer that funds other counties' savings and costs me more.
We gotta be almost nearing the quarterly here, so we'll have a comparison.
So in January, I expect to start that on at least a quarterly basis, showing you where we are versus where we were a year ago. And you can see by projection where we think we're going to end up.
Those are the numbers that are really gonna speak volumes. So,
Absolutely.
okay. Elected officials and department head reports. We on our iPads, building and grounds department and informational technology department, register of deed. Treasurer, Building Inspection Department. Clerk, do you have anything to add?
Yep, excuse me. Brett Gildner, your Ogemaw County Clerk. This past Thursday and Friday, I attended my winter session of the Michigan Association of County Clerks, conference. A day and a half of a lot of information, which was good, beneficial for future of election stuff. So that was good. Secondly, a couple weeks ago, I sent a par through with my financial clerk who had took the position of MSU secretary. So I am just requesting that I be able to post for that position. I want to make sure that I have enough time to find the right person for that position. The previous ones haven't had the accounting part of it. Interviewed well, we thought we could teach it, it just didn't work out. We really need somebody that has government accounting or some sort of accounting background, so I would like to post for it now with an open end date. I don't want it to be 2 weeks, I want the right person for this. In the meantime, with there not being elections, I've been stepping in and doing the majority of that role. Tracy picked up a couple things, which we're fine right now. So I'm just asking to be able to post for that position.
Questions? How, that person left and went to MSU?
Yep,
That was a full-time for a full-time?
yep.
How long was that person? What was the name of, who was it?
Can I say that?
I don't know, why not?
Yeah, Felicia.
How long was she, the
She-
last one that was hired?
Yeah, she 7-8 months, I believe.
And that's already in the budget, correct? That's, so there's no
Yeah, no.
comments, questions? Okay.
One more thing. So with the newly elected clerks, I've had to send in their information to the state. We got talking, thinking, and then talking with one of the new clerks, actually from Logan. I'm going to do a training specifically for them, just because with the elections, we have specific programs that we have to use that they day in and day out use these programs. Until they actually understand why they're doing things in the programs, it's all foreign to them. So I would like to, in the near future, probably the end of January, once everybody gets a login and has access to it, do a training for the new clerks. Just to kind of give them an overview of what to expect and how to function the software and all that. So when you guys are out at your meetings, you can mention that if you want, that I'm going to be doing a training in the near future for them. That's it.
Any other elected officials, department heads? Nobody in the room? Anybody on the phone? I don't see anybody. Huh?
Is that a consensus that we're allowing
You
that?
need you don't need a resolution on that, do you? Post that position?
No, that your rule was simply to bring that to you and get your authorization to proceed.
I asked everybody,
By
everybody
consensus.
shook their head, yes.
That's fine.
Motions from the floor. Motions for adoption? Commissioner, do you have something, Commissioner Scott?
No.
Commissioners' reports. Commissioner Simmons?
I don't have much to report. And I wasn't at the last, I don't think I was at the last transit meeting. I think I was busy in a median, talking to a police officer. So I didn't miss that. I tried to make it and I just couldn't do it.
Next week we have another one.
I'll be there. It's on my calendar. Yeah, I'll be there. So my car's not fixed yet, so I'll be driving old Sandy the pickup.
Anything else?
No, that's
Mr.
all.
Mayhew?
I went to Rose Township and they're deciding they didn't charge enough at the dump. They want to charge a little more.
Good.
That's it.
I had a busy week. Very busy week. I stole Commissioner Simmons and she went with me to the Michigan Works Christmas party Monday night, which was at the
Riverwalk.
Riverwalk in Gladwin. We had a really nice time. They put on a really nice Christmas party. Some representatives were there, a great meal, great conversation. She got to meet some of the other commissioners on that board from the surrounding counties, and that is a very good group as well. So I thank her for going to that with me. At a 911 meeting last night, the audit came through. Stevenson's gave the report from the audit. It was a very good audit, no significant findings. We also approved the 911 for a radio system to be placed in the director's room. So she's gonna be fully up and functionable, so she can jump in and help right from her room. It was a one-time cost. Very minimal overtime this past month, there at 911. They've been pretty busy with calls. I also attended 3 townships, Hill Township, Churchill, and Logan. Logan was last night. That went very well. I did direct the clerk to, Breck. The clerk, there's a lot to this job. He kind of looked, in shock last night. I directed him towards you. I was hoping you could give him some direction. I think there's a lot to this.
I actually called, he was one of the ones that I called today, but I was calling for his phone number and we ended up we had a good conversation, and that's where the thought was, we need to get them in here.
Yes.
Because I don't want them overwhelmed.
I know you had said, previously that any new clerks need to direct them towards you, so I did do that.
Yep, yes, please, anything that has to do with clerking.
Logan Township meeting went very well last night. I think we were out of there in about an hour and 10 minutes. There was quite refreshing. So they were just getting some organization down. They have quite a few new board members, so. Churchill Township, they have a new supervisor. They didn't really have a lot on their agenda. That was a fairly quick meeting as well. And then Hill Township, they have, I think, three new board members as well. Trying to think of what they talked about. Nothing specific. The fire department up there, the fire chief was up there, gave a report, a very thorough report. That's the first time I had met him. You know, that's a pretty smooth board up there as well. Oh, and then I went to the planning commission. There is a meat processing plant that got approved. That is going up, a butcher plant. Out by me. And then there is a storage facility in Skidway. That property has been approved for a couple different things now, and that was tabled. We needed and wanted more information. And then there was some brief conversation on the energy and what we want to do at a local level versus a state level. And there's going to be a lot more communication on that. And it looks like we have another meeting on that December 18th. So questions for me? Commissioner Scott,
Oh,
do you have anything to report?
the report, I, Walker Township was this week, went up there, well attended, a big crowd, bigger crowd than I've probably seen even in the summertime. Of course, 3 new members on the board. So they didn't have anything countywide wise, but, they had a lot of questions about a lot of different things. A lot of people, because of a big crowd, they had a lot of people that were brand new that had some questions and things like that. Parks and Rec was this morning. Our parks are closed right now, but we did have some trees come down in the nature park, took down part of the new fence again. Whereas it was like 1, 2, 3 hit the biggest one or the biggest one hit 1, 2, and 3 and took out about 50 foot of fence, 10 foot high. Then that forced the bucks to be moved together more, so we lost a couple of bucks. They got fighting
Oh,
and we lost a couple of bucks. So we'll have to
Wow.
recover from that. But the fence has now been repaired, so we can separate them better. We reviewed, some of the pricing from other parks in the RV parks in the county to give some comparisons. We're right in pretty close with everybody. We decided 2 months ago that we were gonna raise up the seasonals starting in 2026 because we've already taken most of the money for 2025 of the seasonals. We have 12 or 10 seasonals, lots a year. We're gonna look at those lot per day pricing into the summer months. Do another comparison then. Reports next week. I think that's law enforcement was last week and minutes are there in the report. Yeah, I think that's about it. Well, my township, Ogemaw Township, is moving their meetings to Thursdays. So I'll just report to them by in writing. But I won't be able to attend because I'll be coming here, so. And I believe it's moving to 6 o'clock, so it's gonna make it even harder to go to it, so. So anyway, yep, that's where I'm at. I've already got my soapbox on a couple other things already, so I'm done.
Commissioner Wiltie.
Just got a few things. This past Tuesday, we had a Mills Township meeting. It was really good to see. We do have some new faces on the board. You guys have met, Bruce Beach, he's our new supervisor. We have a new clerk, Elizabeth, Grabro, and a new trustee, April Mason. They just hired a new secretary. Really excited about what this new board's, gonna bring to the township. I think they're gonna do a great job. We know we got a lot of important items to work on. We're also looking right now, they have out for, applications for a new blight officer. And then they also are creating a Parks and Recreation Board, which I think is a really smart move. There's a lot of really nice parks there in Mills Township, and this will help keep a little better control of those. So I think that's a really smart move. Let's see. One item I just kind of want to touch base a little bit from that meeting. I know Tim brought it up regarding the few residents of Mills Township that, we're pretty upset about the fact that they're saying the commissioners, defunding the police. And I just really try to ask, my constituents, the constituents of Ogemaw County, is just to take the time to educate themselves and realize, what the commissioner's job is. And, a lot of people think that we're picking on the sheriff, and the sheriff, lives in Mills Township. So while this was going on that night, he took public comment to go up to behind the talking area there, and he made a point that, the commissioners took away 3 of his officers. And that's the main reason why he's in that position. And of course, we know that's not true. We know that the level of where the county was and financially, how many deputies we had, we know we were living above our means, and our job is to get this financial situation figured out. That was not an easy decision, but yet also a lot of people don't remember also that a deputy was hired that had 2 major issues. One went to the state attorney general and then decided to get drunk and pulled over and is no longer a deputy. Another one left on his own accord. That's not our responsibility. So again, people just feel like we're picking on the sheriff. I don't think we're picking on the sheriff at all. I think what we're trying to do is to get this financial position of the county figured out. Sheriff's budget is huge. The protection of our residents is huge. And we're just asking our shareholders to be business-minded and to run their divisions as efficient and as productive as possible. And we're having some issues with the sheriff department in those areas. And that's why it's our job to figure that out. I think at the end of the day, none of us want this. I think we would love to be able to have this jail administration position figured out. You know, we've offered the chance of listening for added command, but then we had the issues with the, how the sheriff went ahead and, you know, took three deputies into positions that didn't existed. This is not what we want. This has been created by outside sources. We want this county government to run lean, to run strong, and at the end of the day, our residents to feel protected. I'm not trying to get too long-winded here, you guys, but the bottom line is we need to be consistent with educating our constituents to realize that's what we want to do. I know for myself, the political aspect of this is out the door. Republican, Democrat means nothing to me. I have no personal agendas, no personal feelings. I want to protect our citizens. I want to get the financial position of this county where it needs to be. I want to create an increase in our fund balance and just continue to take off from here. That's it. You know, and I just think we need to be very steady to make sure that people are getting the education that they need. And I hope people start paying more attention to our meetings so that they can see what actually is going on here. All right. We have a budget meeting tomorrow morning. It'll be Brenda's last meeting as chair. I do want to mention to Brenda, I want to thank her as her commitment since we started that committee. Brenda, your passion to see this county get figured out, you've never wavered from that. And I appreciate that. And I thank you for that. And I really hope more than anything, all our shareholders in this county realize the extreme importance of that budget committee. It's our time to sit down, to look at each other, to talk person to person, and to get this continued figured out with the county. So I really hope all of our shareholders start consistently coming to that budget meeting because it helps. It's put us in a better position than where we were, 13 months ago. And then I told you guys I'd keep you updated because it could be a very, very big problem for the residents of our county. The state septic code, the lame duck is still going on down in Lansing. Pretty nervous what could possibly happen there. I have not heard anything more on that. But we know that would be something that could drastically affect the pocketbooks of our residents because we have a lot of septic systems. So I don't have anything to report on that, but I hope that the resolution is found on that where it's not going to affect our residents. And that there's more processes in place. Like I said last week, our rivers, our streams, our lakes first, then eventually we do have some type of management because there does need to be some form of management, but just to throw out $5,000-$10,000 on our residents like that, it's not right. And a lot of people just wouldn't be able to afford it. So, that's all that I have.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
On that comment, about, the septic tanks. No, the health department is the one that pretty much does the inspections on septic tanks and wells and stuff like that. And if they pass this, I don't know where they're gonna get the money to hire all the people that it's gonna take to do this. It'll be, as far as I'm concerned, mission impossible. The funding that would be needed to do that would be astronomical. And that's putting it lightly.
It was a main topic at the Michigan Works Christmas party. With the representatives there. It was definitely being talked about, so a lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah, it's important. It's just another thing too, the state, here's more things are thrown on the county, but there's no revenue there to help support us, but this is what you gotta do.
Also, there's a Christmas party for Logan Township at the fire department at 1:00 on Saturday for kids. So anybody that's around and wants to go to that, it's a pretty nice party. I've been to it a couple different times, so.
One more question.
Yes,
Isn't there something where the state pays $75 an inmate if you have them incarcerated?
If they are being housed on behalf of the state, so let's say somebody is sentenced to 5 years, I just pick a number. Our county jails typically will hold somebody for up to 2 years as they go through the process, but once they're in possession or transferred to the state custody, sometimes they're allowed to stay locally, but the state then reimburses you to house that inmate in your jail.
By
Yeah, I was
statute.
just wondering, I remember at one of the meetings, they said that the state.
Could I make a comment on, just to add to
are
that?
you done, Commissioner Mayhew?
Yep,
Go ahead.
I wanted to know.
Yeah, just give them more information, as again, on the law enforcement board and, we had talked about, well, what's the possibility of us looking into options to be able to take state prisoners And the problem is I know, like, for example, talking to jail administrator at Roscommon County, you know, they have process to go through, you gotta get approved. And I think last we asked Lori, I think they were, I wanna say maybe $90, $92 a day. But she said that over the last number of years, you know, they had this many inmates from the state, then the following year they had this many. I mean, it just keeps dropping and dropping. And I think that's the case for a lot of these county jails that do have that in place. They're no longer getting state prisoners, and if they are, that number is decreased so much that it's not even really helping them on that revenue line.
No, I believe you're talking about federal prisoners because state.
Right.
The state will only pay $35 a day. That's why these sheriffs are saying they can't get any more money. $35 a day, that's.
Did you want?
Now, the law that I read that we as a county can charge up to $60 a day to the inmate.
Right. I just recall my experience at Ingham, we used to house the state inmates, and for the very reason that Commissioner Wiltsey said, we got out of it because they weren't sending inmates our way. But the $75 number is what I remember for that contract, and we were housing at one time, well, probably 30 or 40 from the state, and we could depend on and budget for. But if they don't come, they don't pay, and away we went. So yeah, I think everybody's experiencing the same thing. And the state, great, they were closing state prisons, so, you know, they probably have more capacity than they need.
I wanted, is the medical examiner, is that RFP went out? We haven't talked.
It will go out, so that it will be out and live in January. You will have responses in February.
Okay.
And keeps us on target to have somebody in place by April 4th.
Okay, I read that email and I just wanted to make sure we're not putting that on the back burner.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It scares me in the face every day.
I just like making correction. Commissioner Scott said that possibly that maybe is federal prisoners, but the bottom line is it's the same story, whether it's federal or state. That number has just continued to drop, and there's a lot of jails that just are no longer receiving them because they're not getting the option to take them.
With federal, there was a lot of particulars. You gotta go to Detroit, Grand Rapids, or Marquette to pick them up. You gotta be there like at 5 o'clock in the morning. You may have to wait all day to get them.
We did apply for that twice is what we were told since I've been here. And both times we were denied, but we never seen copies or the paper trail, or we were verbally, am I correct? We were
Right,
verbally told.
Right, in the past year have told us very high numbers, but nobody else was getting those high numbers.
Okay. General public comment? Any in the room? Any on the phone? Motion to adjourn,
Motion.
or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Do I have something to sign?
2 things.
Perfect.
Good night, everyone. Be safe.
Secret.
Trail assessment, contract and.
Good night, sir. Rick, have a good night.